Picture this, a 124-year-old Indian motorcycle company just sold nearly 1 million bikes in a single year. Meanwhile, the legendary American icon Harley Davidson, the bike that taught the world what motorcycle culture even means, just sold 150,000 units. That's not a typo. Royal Enfield is outselling Harley Davidson by almost 7-1. But here's the real kicker. Royal Enfield's export sales alone, just the bikes they sold outside of India, came within 44,000 units of Harley's entire global sales. We're witnessing the most dramatic power shift in motorcycle history, and most people don't even know it's happening. Act 1, the numbers don't lie. Let's start with a reality check that'll make your head spin. Royal Enfield sold a whopping 1,009,900 motorcycles between March 2024 and March 2025, which was a sizable 11% year-on-year increase. This number is almost 10 times as much as what Harley Davidson managed in 2024. 10 times more. But Royal Enfield didn't stop there. Royal Enfield's market cap is now $57 million higher than that of Harley Davidson. That's right, the company that most Americans have never heard of 5 years ago is now worth more than the Milwaukee legend. And if you think this is just about India's massive domestic market, think again. Royal Enfield's global sales saw a 37% rise, with the brand managing to sell 107,143 motorcycles outside of India alone. That export number alone puts them within striking distance of Harley's total worldwide sales. Here's where it gets really interesting. Royal Enfield also has one of the highest operating margins globally at 28%, while Harley's margins are 24.9%. So not only is Royal Enfield selling way more bikes, they're making more profit per bike than Harley. Act 2, the death spiral in Milwaukee. While Royal Enfield is celebrating record-breaking success, Harley Davidson is drowning in what can only be described as the perfect storm of bad news. Harley Davidson's 2024 annual report revealed a 15% revenue decline. And in the first quarter of 2025, global retail sales fell 21%, while motorcycle shipments dropped 33%. But wait, there's more. Harley Davidson saw a 60% drop in motorcycle revenue and sold 53% fewer motorcycles in its last quarter compared to the same period in 2023. 60% revenue drop. Let that sink in. North America, Harley's biggest market, saw sales drop 13% in Q4 alone, and the first quarter of 2025 didn't improve things, with global motorcycle sales falling another 21%, including a 24% drop in the US. It got so bad that Harley's management withdrew their 2025 guidance, saying they can't make predictions due to uncertain macroeconomic conditions and tariffs. When a company stops making financial predictions, that's corporate speak for "we have no idea what we're doing." And here's the brutal cherry on top. Used Harley prices are falling fast. Some models have lost nearly half of their value in just the last year. When your bikes are depreciating like used laptops, you've got a serious brand problem. Act 3, the age problem Harley can't escape. Here's the uncomfortable truth that Harley executives probably discuss in hushed tones behind closed doors. Their customers are literally dying off. According to Harley's own data, more than half of current and potential customers are delaying purchases due to economic uncertainty. But the deeper issue isn't economic, it's demographic. Harley built their empire on the backs of baby boomers who wanted to rebel against their parents' generation. Those rebels are now in their 60s and 70s. Recommendations include expanding dealer networks and developing mid-sized motorcycles suited to a broader spectrum of riders in emerging markets. Translation: they need younger customers, and they need them desperately. Meanwhile, Royal Enfield cracked the code that Harley couldn't. Sales have risen from a meager 20,000 in 2010 to 740,000 units in the 11 months ending February 2018, representing an ability to understand the experiential nature of the millennial mindset. The Indian millennials that Royal Enfield courted weren't just buying motorcycles, they were buying into a lifestyle that blended tradition with modernity. Despite being emboldened by new economic opportunity, they chose to cling to the past somewhat. Royal Enfield gave them exactly that. Modern engineering wrapped in classic, timeless design. Act 4, the price revolution. Now, let's talk money, because this is where Royal Enfield's strategy gets absolutely fetched. While Harley was pricing themselves out of reach of younger riders, Royal Enfield went the opposite direction. A 2019 Royal Enfield Twins model will set you back around $5,800. and they're lightweight and manufactured with simplicity and practicality in mind. Royal Enfield bikes require less maintenance, and parts are also inexpensive and easy to find. Now, compare that to a typical Harley, where you're looking at $15,000 to $35,000 for a new bike, plus the premium Harley parts and service costs. Harley raised prices knowing that consumers were tightening their spending, and it backfired. Here's a specific example that'll blow your mind. The Harley Davidson X440, not available in the US, versus the Royal Enfield Classic 350 is actually about $2,900 versus $2,400. But here's the kicker, the Harley X440 is actually made in partnership with Hero MotoCorp in India, using Royal Enfield's playbook of affordable manufacturing. Royal Enfield figured out something profound. Royal Enfields are well positioned to appeal to younger riders. They're inexpensive and attractive quality for people with little disposable income. While Harley was chasing higher margins with bigger, more expensive bikes, Royal Enfield was building an empire, one affordable, accessible motorcycle at a time. Act 5, Community Building Mastery. Now, here's where Royal Enfield really shows their genius, community building. Harley invented the motorcycle club scene with HOG, Harley Owners Group, but Royal Enfield took that concept and supercharged it for the social media age. Royal Enfield's One Ride event brings over 40,000 riders across 1,500 rides in 60 countries, creating a true 24-hour global celebration spanning all time zones. This isn't just a marketing event, it's a movement. One Ride has grown exponentially since its debut in 2011, witnessing merely 14 countries and 23 Indian cities participating. The 2024 edition achieved a record participation with 41,730 riders across 66 countries. But Royal Enfield didn't stop with one annual event. They created an entire ecosystem of experiences. The Himalayan Odyssey is an epic journey into the Himalayas on a Royal Enfield motorcycle, and this year marked 20 years of their flagship ride with 100 riders from all over the world heading to Sanskar Valley and Siachen Base Camp. Think about that for a second. Royal Enfield is taking paying customers on an 18-day, 3,000-kilometer adventure through some of the world's most challenging terrain. They crossed various locations and witnessed open sky tall mountains as far as the human eye could see. Moreover, with barely any cellular network, there was no disturbance. The event took people away from their mundane lives. This is experiential marketing at its finest. Royal Enfield utilizes email marketing, events like Rider Mania and the Himalayan Odyssey, fostering community engagement and brand loyalty. Act 6, the global strategy. Royal Enfield didn't just stumble into success. They executed a brilliant global expansion strategy that Harley completely missed. Like Honda in 1959, Royal Enfield was looking to expand to the American and European markets, and Royal Enfield opened a fully owned North American subsidiary, headquartered in Wisconsin, with plans to use innovative marketing to sell bikes to new riders. Wisconsin, they literally set up shop in Harley's backyard. In the US, Royal Enfield saw an 11.6% increase in sales in 2024, further solidifying its presence in the market traditionally dominated by massive cruisers and superbikes. While Harley's sales were crashing, Royal Enfield was growing into Harley's home market. Royal Enfield now ranks as the 9th largest two-wheel manufacturer in the world. When considering only the motorcycle segment, it ranks 6th. Let me repeat that. Royal Enfield is now the 6th largest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. Their global expansion wasn't random. Sales growth was huge in the Indian region with 17% growth, but it was also relevant in Latin America, 68% growth, and in East Europe, 29% growth. They identified emerging markets where Harley's premium pricing made no sense and dominated those spaces. The philosophy that changed everything. Here's what most people miss about Royal Enfield's success. It wasn't just about making cheaper bikes. It was about understanding a fundamental shift in what riders actually want. Royal Enfield's formula is working because of the refusal to play the traditional spec sheet game. Royal Enfield isn't trying to outgun Ducati or BMW, instead it's leaning hard into approachability, affordability, and aesthetic appeal. Their bikes are built for real roads, not racetracks. They're easy to learn and grow on, cheap to maintain, and cool without necessarily trying to be cool. This represents a massive cultural shift. Across global markets, motorcyclists are rethinking what they want out of their bikes. They don't ride motorcycles purely because they love the machines, they ride because of what they allow them to feel: freedom, self-expression, and belonging. Royal Enfield tapped into something Harley forgot. They tapped into the romanticism of the ride better than almost any other brand out there. Act 8, the manufacturing revolution. Here's a detail that most people overlook but explains everything. Royal Enfield completely reinvented motorcycle manufacturing. By 2013, the company opened a new primary factory in Chennai on the strength of increased demand. This was followed in 2017 by the inauguration of another new factory of similar size with a capacity of 600,000 vehicles per year. Think about those numbers. Royal Enfield built factories with a combined capacity of over 1 million motorcycles per year, while Harley was struggling to sell 150,000. That's not just confidence, that's industrial revolution level strategic thinking. The advantage to have lower cost of production is relevant, but not essential for Royal Enfield's success. It's not just about cheap labor, it's about efficient, modern manufacturing focused on what customers actually want, rather than what engineers think is cool. Act 9, the Harley death spiral. Meanwhile, Harley Davidson has been making one strategic blunder after another. Harley's electric division, Livewire, has failed to meet expectations. Initially positioned as a symbol of innovation, Livewire has seen shipments fall and losses increase. Get this, Livewire sold only 33 electric motorcycles in Q1 2025. 33. That's not even one per day. For context, Tesla sells more cars in an hour than Livewire sold electric motorcycles in 3 months. The leadership turmoil tells the whole story. Soon after CEO Jochen Zeitz announced his retirement, the decision sparked further frustration among dealers and investors. The search concluded with the board announcing that Artie Starrs, formerly CEO of Topgolf International, would step in as the new president and chief executive officer. They went from a motorcycle company CEO to a guy who ran indoor golf entertainment into the ground. That's like replacing Gordon Ramsay with someone who managed a McDonald's. Act 10, the cultural shift. The most fascinating aspect of the story isn't just about business, it's about a fundamental shift in global motorcycle culture. Royal Enfield's offerings appeal to various demographics, including young urban riders attracted by customizable modern aesthetics. Also, the middle-aged enthusiasts drawn to classic designs, and female riders. Royal Enfield figured out something revolutionary. You don't need a $30,000 bike to feel like a badass. Royal Enfield motorcycles are significantly more affordable than their Harley Davidson counterparts, making them more accessible to a wider range of riders. This accessibility created a snowball effect. Royal Enfield plans to release slimmed-down bikes to attract more women and young riders, creating lighter-weight bikes with lower seat heights. While Harley Davidson was building bigger, heavier, and more expensive bikes for aging customers, Royal Enfield was building smaller, lighter, more accessible bikes for the next generation. Act 11, the network effect. Here's where Royal Enfield's strategy really gets smart. They didn't just build great bikes, they built an entire ecosystem. Royal Enfield operates an impressive network of over 850 dealerships in India, bolstered by 18 company-owned stores. But the genius move was their events strategy. Rider Mania brings together Royal Enfield enthusiasts from all over the world for 3 magical days on the sunny shores of Goa, with competitions, races, expert sessions, concerts, while having the party of their life. Rider Mania dates back to 2003 when it was first hosted in Goa and approximately 74 bikers attended. Now, it's the annual gathering of Indian Royal Enfield motorcycle owners that exemplifies the brotherhood every biker talks about. From 74 riders in 2003 to over 40,000 in the Global One Ride event in 2025, that's not just growth, that's building a movement. Act 12, the innovation gap. While Harley was stuck in the past, Royal Enfield was quietly innovating in ways that actually mattered to riders. Royal Enfield successfully merges its classic design ethos with modern technology, making each motorcycle both nostalgic and functional. Features such as Bluetooth connectivity and advanced digital displays enhance the rider experience while maintaining an authentic feel. They understood something crucial. Innovation doesn't mean making bikes that look like spaceships. It means making bikes that work better for real people in the real world. Royal Enfield bikes are user-friendly and reliable, important qualities for people who need to travel to a job but don't want to take public transportation. They built motorcycles as transportation, not just toys for wealthy hobbyists. The new king of the road. So what did we learn from this motorcycle revolution? Royal Enfield didn't beat Harley Davidson by accident. They executed a masterclass in understanding their customers, pricing strategy, manufacturing efficiency, and community building. Royal Enfield managed over 10 times the sales that Harley Davidson was able to manage in 2024, hitting record sales of over 1 million motorcycles. Those aren't just numbers, they represent millions of people who chose accessibility over exclusivity, community over attitude, and smart engineering over marketing hype. The most telling statistic of all, 2 years ago, the gap between the market caps of the two companies was $13 billion. Royal Enfield's market cap is now $57 million higher than that of Harley Davidson. That's a $13 billion swing in favor of the company that most Americans still can't pronounce correctly. Harley Davidson taught the world what motorcycle culture could be, but Royal Enfield is showing the world what motorcycle culture should be: inclusive, accessible, adventurous, and focused on the pure joy of riding rather than the price tag of exclusivity. The revolution isn't coming, it's already here, and it's riding a Royal Enfield.